Let me ask you something. You work a full-time job, maybe more. You bring home decent money. You are not blowing it at the casino. You are not buying yachts. You are just trying to live a normal life, take care of your family, maybe grab a decent truck. And somehow, at the end of every single month, the bank account is emptier than it should be. And you feel like it is your fault, like there is something wrong with you. Like everyone else has figured out this financial discipline thing except for you. Here's what I'm going to tell you today. It is not a discipline problem. It is a hardware problem. You are running a piece of software that is roughly 50,000 years old on a world that was redesigned from the ground up, specifically to exploit every single vulnerability in that software. Today, we're going to pop the hood on your brain, look at the actual code that is running, and understand exactly why it is costing you money every single month without you ever noticing. Think about what your brain was actually built to do, not what it does in a quarterly budget meeting, not what it does when you are scrolling your phone at 11 at night, what it was originally engineered for. Your ancestors, tens of thousands of years ago, lived in an environment where resources were scarce and unpredictable. A berry bush existed today and might be gone tomorrow. A herd of animals passed through once and might not come back for a season. The humans who survived were the ones whose brains screamed the loudest, "Consume this right now. Acquire this immediately. Do not wait. Do not save it. Take it now because tomorrow it might be gone forever." That impulse is not a character flaw. It was literally the survival mechanism that kept your bloodline alive long enough to produce you. The problem is that impulse never got a software update, and the world around you absolutely did. Every major retailer, every app on your phone, every streaming service, every car dealership in America has an entire department of engineers, psychologists, and data scientists whose only job is to find every single exploit in that 50,000-year-old operating system and use it to extract money from your wallet before your conscious brain can intervene. You are not fighting a lack of willpower. You are fighting artificial intelligence backed by billions of dollars running against a prehistoric brain. That's not a fair fight, and the first step to not losing that fight every month is to understand exactly what weapons they are using against you. So let's go through them one by one, because knowing the code is the only way to patch it.
Okay, so let us talk about the big one. The one that is probably quietly draining more money out of your household than almost anything else. Let us talk about dopamine. And I want to start by correcting something almost everyone gets wrong about it. Dopamine is not the happiness chemical. I know that is what you have heard. It is not. Dopamine is the anticipation and motivation chemical. Your brain does not release dopamine when you get the thing. It releases dopamine when you are chasing the thing. The hunting, the researching, the imagining, that is where the neurochemical reward actually lives. The moment of acquisition is almost anticlimactic by design. Let me give you the most relatable example I can think of. You decide you want a new truck. Maybe your current one has 150,000 miles on it. Fair enough. So you start watching YouTube reviews. You spend 3 evenings going down a rabbit hole of towing capacity comparisons. You go on the forums. You configure it on the website. Every trim level, every color option, every package. You take it for a test drive, and your heart is genuinely racing. You feel alive. You feel like you're making a major power move. You sign the papers, and you feel incredible. And then you drive it home. And by the time you pull into your driveway, something has already shifted. Not dramatically, just a little. The truck feels a little less magical than it did in the showroom. Within 2 weeks, it is just your truck. It is just the thing you drive to work. The dopamine has completely flatlined. But the $800 monthly payment, that one does not flatline. That one shows up like clockwork for the next 7 years. And here's where it gets really expensive. Because your brain, now starved of that dopamine it got from the truck research cycle, immediately starts looking for the next hit. Maybe it's a new set of wheels for the truck. Maybe it's a side-by-side for the backyard. Maybe it's a gun, a guitar, a new grill, a gym membership, a watch. It doesn't matter what the object is. Your brain is not shopping for a product, it's shopping for that chemical rush of the chase. The product is almost incidental. This is why men who are not impulsive people, men who are genuinely responsible, thoughtful, hardworking, still end up with garages full of stuff they barely use and a bank account that never seems to grow. It's not weakness, it's biology running exactly as designed in a world specifically engineered to trigger it on a loop.
Now let us talk about the one that no one wants to admit is running in the background, because admitting it feels like admitting you are shallow. But I'm telling you, understanding this one mechanism could save you more money than almost any budgeting app ever invented. Let us talk about social status and why your brain treats it as a survival emergency. Go back 50,000 years again. In a small tribe of hunter-gatherers, social hierarchy was not just a popularity contest, it was the difference between life and death. The high-status males in the tribe got priority access to food, protection, mates, and safety. The low-status males were expendable. In times of scarcity, when the tribe had to make hard decisions, the lowest-ranking members were the first to be left behind, pushed out, or simply abandoned. Being ejected from the tribe was not embarrassing, it was a death sentence. Your brain still has that circuitry, completely intact, fully operational. It cannot tell the difference between the year 50,000 BC and right now. So when your neighbor pulls a brand new $45,000 SUV into the driveway next door and you're still driving the same vehicle you had 4 years ago, your brain does not just register mild envy, it registers a genuine drop in relative social status. And a drop in relative social status, in the language your ancient brain still speaks, is a survival threat. I want to be very clear about something here. When you finance a car you cannot really afford because your neighbor or your coworker or your brother-in-law got something nicer, you are not being greedy. You are not being petty. You are responding to a biological alarm system that is screaming at you that your position in the tribe is dropping, and you need to correct it immediately before something terrible happens. It's the same kind of panicked, non-rational response as running from a loud noise. You do not choose it. It chooses you. And the financial industry has known this for decades. Why do you think luxury car brands don't advertise performance specs in their commercials? They advertise other people's reactions. They advertise the look on someone's face when you pull up. They're not selling you a car. They're selling your brain a hit of status security. They're selling relief from that ancient evolutionary alarm. The worst part of this one is that it is a treadmill with no finish line. The moment you get the new car, someone else in your social orbit upgrades. The kitchen your neighbor just renovated makes yours look dated. The vacation photos from a coworker reset the benchmark again. You are not just trying to keep up with the Joneses, you are trying to quiet an alarm that was never designed to go quiet. And you can spend yourself into bankruptcy trying to silence something that is hardwired to always find a new reason to ring. I want you to think about the last time you made a genuinely questionable financial decision. Not a big, dramatic one. A small, stupid one. The $40 delivery order when there was perfectly good food in the fridge. The random Amazon purchase at 11:30 at night that showed up on your doorstep and you could barely remember ordering. The monthly subscription you signed up for and forgot about. When did that happen? I will bet you it was in the evening. I will bet you it was after a long day. I will bet you it was not a Monday morning decision. Here's what is actually happening. Your brain has two main operating systems running at any given time. The first is your prefrontal cortex. This is the part right behind your forehead. It handles long-term thinking, impulse control, logical planning, and cost-benefit analysis. This is the part that says, we have leftovers in the fridge, we do not need to spend $40 on delivery. This is the rational adult in the room. The second system is the limbic system, or what a lot of people loosely call the lizard brain. This is the older, emotional, instinct-driven system that says, I want it now, give it to me. The research on this is not subtle. The prefrontal cortex operates like a rechargeable battery. Every decision you make throughout the day draws from that battery. Every time you deal with a difficult colleague, navigate a tense conversation, weigh two competing priorities, sit in traffic, manage your kids' schedules, respond to 47 emails, you are drawing down that charge. And unlike your phone, you cannot plug in for a quick top-up at 2 in the afternoon. By 8 o'clock at night, after a full day of the modern world throwing everything it has at you, that logical brain is running on fumes. And when the logical brain goes offline, the lizard brain does not wait patiently for it to come back. The lizard brain just takes the wheel. And the lizard brain does not read bank statements. It does not think about next month. It does not care about the budget. It just wants comfort, stimulation, and relief right now. This is why every major app that wants your money was engineered for nighttime use. DoorDash, Amazon, Instagram shopping, every streaming upsell, they're all designed to catch you at the exact moment your defenses are lowest. The one-click buy button, the saved payment method, the order again shortcut. None of that is convenience for your sake. It is infrastructure built to catch your lizard brain before your logical brain can load back up and say, wait, hold on. You cannot outwork decision fatigue. You cannot just try harder to be disciplined at 8 p.m. You are asking a phone with 2% battery to run a heavy application. It is not going to happen reliably. The only answer is to make the hard decisions earlier in the day and to build systems that remove the decisions entirely from the evening hours. But we'll get to that. Okay, here is the psychological principle that might be the single most expensive thing about being a human being in America in 2025. It is called loss aversion, and once you see it, you will see it absolutely everywhere in your financial life. Economists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, two researchers who basically invented the field of behavioral economics, ran study after study that proved one consistent, uncomfortable truth about the human brain. Losing something feels roughly twice as bad as gaining the equivalent thing feels good. That is not an exaggeration. That is the actual finding. The pain of losing $100 is psychologically about twice as intense as the pleasure of finding $100. Losing a job feels more devastating than getting a better job feels great. Losing a relationship feels worse than starting a new one feels exciting. Your brain is not calibrated for neutral accounting. It is tilted heavily toward protecting what it already has. Now, here is where this gets really brutal in practical daily life. Think about how this interacts with the way modern life works. You get a raise, and you upgrade your lifestyle to match it almost automatically. You move into a bigger house because you can afford it. You get a nicer car. You eat at better restaurants. Your kids go to a better school. These things become normal to you. They become your baseline. They become what you think of, neurologically, as the minimum acceptable standard of your life. And then something happens. Maybe the economy shifts. Maybe you have a rough year at work. Maybe you just look at the numbers one day and realize that to actually get your financial life under control, something has to give. And the moment you consider downsizing, selling the truck, moving to a smaller house, canceling the club membership, your brain does not process that as a rational financial optimization. It processes it as catastrophic loss. It generates the same kind of psychological pain as having something taken from you against your will. This is why so many hardworking men run themselves straight into the ground rather than take one step back. The idea of trading down, even temporarily, even strategically, feels to the brain like failure, like defeat, like falling out of the tribe. And the loss aversion is so powerful that men will put in brutal amounts of overtime, pick up extra work, sacrifice sleep, sacrifice health, sacrifice time with their kids, all to avoid the psychological pain of reducing a standard of living that, honestly, they probably did not consciously choose in the first place. They just drifted into it one upgrade at a time. The baseline trap is insidious because it only ever moves in one direction. Every improvement to your lifestyle becomes the new floor. Nothing ever becomes a ceiling. And so you keep running on the treadmill not to get ahead, but just to stay in place, avoiding the pain of falling back to a level that 2 or 3 years ago would have felt like more than enough. This next one is going to feel a little philosophical, but stick with me because there is real neuroscience behind it, and it explains something that probably confuses you about yourself. Why is it that you can completely understand intellectually that saving money is important? Like, you know this, you have known it for years, and still consistently fail to do it.
Why does a perfectly rational person keep choosing the immediate reward over the obviously better long-term outcome? Psychologists call it hyperbolic discounting or time inconsistency. Here is the basic idea. Your brain does not value future rewards and present rewards equally. It applies a heavy discount to anything in the future. And that discount is not linear, it is steep and aggressive. A reward available right now is valued dramatically, irrationally, almost comically higher than the same reward available in the future, even if the future reward is objectively much larger. Here is the neuroscience that makes this really concrete. Researchers did MRI brain scans on people while asking them to think about two things: themselves in the present moment and themselves 20 years in the future. When people thought about their present self, the brain regions associated with self-identity and personal relevance lit up. When people thought about their future self, those regions went quiet. Instead, the brain activated the same regions it uses when thinking about a complete stranger, a random person on the street, someone you have never met. Let that actually land for a second. The 60-year-old version of you, the one who will live with every financial decision you make in the next decade, registers in your brain right now as a stranger, not as you, as someone else. So when you're making a decision between buying something you want today and saving money for retirement, your brain is not processing that as a choice between present you and future you. It's processing it as a choice between you and some random person you've never met who will receive the money instead. And when you frame it that way, suddenly it makes a lot more sense why saving feels so unnatural. You're not being asked to delay gratification. You're being asked at a neurological level to give away your money to a stranger every month, voluntarily. Your brain rebels against that. It's not a moral failure. It's your brain working exactly as programmed, just on a timescale that made perfect sense 50,000 years ago, when you had no idea if you would even be alive in 30 years anyway. And again, the financial industry exploits this constantly. Buy now, pay later, 0% financing, no payments until next year. Every single one of those products is specifically engineered to widen the distance between the reward and the cost, give your brain the dopamine of acquisition today, and push the pain of payment so far into the future that it feels like it's somebody else's problem. Because neurologically, it does feel exactly like that, until it is not.
All right, we have spent this entire video diagnosing the problem. Let us actually talk about what you do with this information, because there's no point in understanding the biology if we do not have a practical response to it. And I want to be clear about one thing up front, because I think this is where a lot of financial advice fails people. You cannot out-willpower evolution. That is not a battle you win, not consistently, not over years and decades. Willpower is finite. Biology is not. The only strategy that actually works long-term is building systems that make the right behavior automatic and make the wrong behavior harder. Not impossible, harder. That friction matters more than you think. Think about it from the other direction. Every frictionless system in your life right now was deliberately engineered to remove resistance from spending. Apple Pay exists so that buying something requires one tap and no thought. One-click ordering exists so your lizard brain never has to confront a confirmation screen. Saved credit card info, automatic renewals, pre-filled checkout, all of it is friction removal in service of getting your money out of your account faster. So your first move is to add friction back in. Delete your saved credit card from every website you shop on. Not because you cannot enter the number again, but because the 3 minutes it takes to go find your wallet and type in the number is enough time for the logical part of your brain to come back online and ask whether you actually need this. That pause is the whole game. Remove the one-click capability. Do not save passwords on shopping sites. Make spending require a little effort, and you will be amazed how many purchases quietly disappear on their own. Second principle, institute a time rule for non-essential purchases. 72 hours is a good number. Anything you want to buy that is not groceries, gas, or a bill, put it on a list and wait 3 days. This is not deprivation, it is a dopamine circuit breaker. Remember, the dopamine spike is in the chase, the research, the imagining, the putting it on a list. You still get that, but you build a 72-hour window between the emotional impulse and the actual transaction. Most things on that list you won't even want anymore after 3 days. The desire fades because the dopamine already fired. You got the neurochemical reward without spending a dollar.
Third, and this is the most important one because it directly addresses the hyperbolic discounting and the lizard brain taking over at 8 p.m. Automate everything that matters. Set up automatic transfers to a savings or retirement account the day your paycheck hits, not after you pay your bills, not whatever's left over at the end of the month. First thing, automatic, same day, before your brain even registers that the money arrived. When the money is gone before the lizard brain wakes up, the lizard brain cannot spend it. You're not relying on discipline, you're relying on timing and architecture. Now, I want to close with something that I think matters as much as any of the tactical stuff. If you have watched this entire video and you are sitting here thinking about years of financial decisions that now make more sense, but also sting a little more in hindsight, the truck you shouldn't have financed, the credit card balance that somehow never fully disappears, the subscriptions you forgot about for 8 months, I want you to give yourself some grace here. You were not weak. You were not stupid. You were a human being running 500-century-old evolutionary hardware in a world that was specifically and deliberately engineered to exploit every single vulnerability in that hardware. The deck was stacked, and the game was rigged, and you were playing without knowing the rules. Now you know the rules. That matters. Understanding the mechanism is not just academic, it's the actual patch. Because the next time you feel that pull to buy something you can't really afford, because your neighbor just got something nicer, you now know that's not your personality. That's 50,000-year-old tribal survival code misfiring in a Costco parking lot. You can acknowledge it, name it, and choose differently, not through heroic willpower, but because you built a system that makes the right choice the easy choice. Add friction, automate the important stuff, give the logical brain a fighting chance by making fewer decisions at 8 at night, and forgive yourself for the old code. It was never your fault. It was just bad programming. Now you've got the patch. I'm Dollar Dave. Update your software, build some friction, and go do whatever you want.